we're gonna start our meeting a whole minute early, because we are just like that. We're gonna move to 1.2, there's a flag behind you, pledge allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for
for
all.
all. All right, everyone is not here. Kathy Fierro is not able to join us, and Alicia's not here today, but everyone else is here, so that's good. For the good of the order, did anyone get to the elementary school play?
Frankly.
Dare to Dream. You did?
No, no.
You did? Fantastic.
It was fantastic. The kids did an amazing job. The teachers did an amazing job. Well choreographed. The costumes were amazing. It was really excellent. So great singing. There's a lot of talented kids coming up. It was very exciting to see.
Excuse me, plays May 16th at Proctor's. Where's the sun harvest? No, just shoot me if there's. There's the musical theater event where there are 6 nominees from district, and there was the trout release, Mr. Madison's last trout release before his retirement. But Mr. Monroe, thank you very much, is willing to carry on that tradition. And congratulations also the middle school, the Miss Crawford team had the video manufacturing came in with non-remission, so that's a kudos. Yes, so, and Teacher Appreciation Week, we send our gratitude to the staff and teachers who are involved in making this district as awesome as it is. Thank you all. Anything else?
I'll kind of piggyback up with what Rachel said, teacher appreciation. I was happy to see that in the school boards newspaper, they highlighted a brief documentary that New York State United Teachers produced called 1 in 5. And I highly recommend the watch. It's brief but very powerful. It focuses on the fact that 1 in 5 children in this state, despite the wealth that we have, grows up in poverty. And the effect that that has on their ability to learn. And this is something that we are not immune from here in this district. And another thing that they touch on in that documentary is the lengths that teachers go to on their own time, their own pockets, their own dedication to do what is necessary for children. Because when children do not have the food, the clothing, the warmth, literal and figurative, that they need, they cannot learn. It is just not something that they're able to do. And so it's something I commend to your watching. It's available on YouTube. It just reiterate a point that was made in that, which is this is relevant to what we do on a daily basis, not only here in this community but statewide, is that poverty problems that we have are largely a policy choice. We choose to have the poverty problems that we have in this state and in this nation. And one way of combating that is through community schools, which is also touched on in the documentary. And this is something that I know that we as a district do our best through the community shop that we have and through other services that we provide. So it's called 1 in 5. There's also a website, number 1, the word in, and then the number 5, newyork.org. A lot of very good resources there, and we urge you to take a look. So with that, thank you very much to the teachers and all staff here that do what they do on a daily basis, because without them, we would not be here and our children would not be in the situation as the good situation and good care that they receive here in this district. So thank you.
Thank you for bringing the forwards. All right, with that, we move to the opportunity for the public to be heard. If anyone in the public would like to come forward, please come. All right, well, the reason we're all here is the budget hearing doesn't get any more exciting than this.
Okay,
You can
all right, you can stand up.
This,
Or however you would like, Colleen.
this looks very familiar.
So,
I can't get excited.
many of you may have seen this multiple times. And also, if you go to our website, you will see information that is on it. Also, for community members, I did send out a 5-minute video. It's actually 4 minutes and 37 seconds, I think. It took me about an hour and a half to actually record, just so you do know that. And it really is just very high-level overview of the budget. Tonight, we are going to go through the same presentation that we went through 3 times already. We are not going to go in depth, so we won't go over every single minutia component of it that we've done, unless you have further questions that you'd want us to go through. Other than that, we're just going to really hit the highlights to go through it. Also, community members now have this, and as do we. It's on your tables. This is the budget newsletter and budget hearing that has to go out. Our regulatory aspect of this has to be hit. Why are we here on a Tuesday? There are a certain amount of days by the time that we have to have our budget hearing next to our budget vote. If we had it on Monday, we would not have been in compliance. If we have it on Tuesday, we are in compliance. So that is the reason that we're having it on a Tuesday and not a Monday. This has to go out after our budget hearing. It has gone to our post. It is at our mailing house. It should be there tomorrow. This should be in our community's hands by hopefully Thursday or Friday, depending on the vote time. So kind of just want to clarify a couple things as we're going through it. So with that being said, as we always do and as we have throughout this time frame, we talk about our vision and mission statement. These are the things that guide us. And I think it's important because a lot of hard work's gone into this vision statement. The Voorheesville Central School District is an engaging and supportive community of learning where everyone can participate and thrive for the highest potential. Our budget has to reflect that vision, making sure that everyone can thrive. And the same with our mission. It talks about a strong foundation of knowledge and experiences in a safe and supportive environment to prepare them to be productive members of a global society and lifelong values. These are, again, things that you'll see within our budget and things that we prioritize as we made this budget vote happen. Again, I'm not going to go over each of the board goals, but they are here. Now, the overview of the budget highlights itself. We do not exceed the property tax limit, 50% plus 1, to be able to pass it. It preserves all of our current programs and services for students, so we're not seeing a shift in those programs. Instruction and current alignment, so we maintain all programming and services of staffing. We are losing 1 staff member through attrition. That staff member is going to be that budgetary component is being shifted to be able to offer a self-contained special education classroom. We are currently looking at our enrollment numbers for the elementary school to make the best decision of our class sizes. Currently, our elementary school, I believe, is at 65 students for kindergarten, which is the lowest that we've had in a very long time. Yeah, typically we go up to 75. My daughter's class, who is graduating now, was the last class. There were 62 when she was in kindergarten. So there are sometimes is that bubble class. This might be a bubble class, which then we could lessen a section and then increase a section. So increasing the grade 4 section to 22 or grade 5 to 22, we could be able to lessen those sections. So nothing set in stone, but we are looking at all options at this point. But enrollment's an important component of it. Going in and adding that self-contained classroom, as I said already, it does twofold. One, it's a cost-saving measure because those are high-cost students going out. Coming in, we still have to upfront that cost without getting paid back. So that does allow us to create a program. But second off, it allows us to create a program here in Voorheesville. And I would put money down on it any time that our staff can do a better job anywhere else. We will meet the needs and exceed the needs of our students. Those students won't go to another district and be mascots, have that mascot. They will be here. They will be our mascot. And that, and our black ones, yes, they will be our Blackbirds just like the rest of us. So I think this is an important step for our district, and I'm really excited that we're able to do it. And it does two things. It's cost savings, it reaches a budgetary goal, and it meets the needs of our students. It continues with our technology upgrades, and also our operation and maintenance that we've been doing with deferred maintenance. It continues with those objectives. So we're not losing any of that with this budget. Transportation, we are continuing with our future ready plan. As you know, we created a bus garage. We're moving forward with the state initiative buying our first electric bus. There might be shifts coming down the line with EV mandates. Even that said, with the shift to EV mandates, we're right to be able to still have a bus. We went through our planning. We have routes that can meet our planning. We have the infrastructure to do this, and we set up the reserve. We well thought and well planned this as a district, so it makes sense to move forward with that thought process.
So, question about that. If we were to switch to buying like one of the diesel buses,
Yes.
would that increase the expenses portion of our budget at this point because we're using the reserve funds to pay for the EV? Or is it a wash? Like
It'd be a wash because the EV bus is so expensive,
Okay.
correct?
And we have submitted for a voucher reimbursement on this. We may see it in 2 years, so we'll get some of that additional funding back through the voucher program, through New York State Bus Incentive Program. So we've submitted that. It takes a while, so we should get that money back as well.
Nice.
And also still, there's still the deadline the state still currently has in place that we have to buy
2027.
electric buses. There might be inspection components going along with diesel buses, or so there's still a lot out there that we don't know. So the safest bet until we know what legislation changes is to continue with the plan that we put in place 4 years ago. So this is the fruition of that. Any questions on that? As we discussed multiple times, there are primary cost drivers that are out of our control. Debt services is 25.78% of our budget. Again, as I've discussed, that's an expense-based aid, so we are seeing revenue back on that, but it still is a part of our budget expenses. Benefits and health insurance, as you know, has went up and increased. Even though we are the least amount of increase around the area, we still got a 14.75% increase. And contractual salaries, TRS, and ERS benefits. Any questions? Colleen?
So again, as Mr. McCree mentioned, we're not going to go into great details on the hierarchy of this. This breaks it down in categories and shows you where those categorical changes and those increase and decreases in the budget overall. As we mentioned, debt service is one of those highest. That's the cost of financing that we take on once we finalize a project, which finances our capital project. Other than that, your biggest increases are typically your salaries and your benefits. And then along with that, as we noted, is your employee benefits. So you can see the increases and decreases on this slide, which overall gives us an overall increase of a little over 2 million or 6%. This just goes further down into, again, some of those breakdowns showing you the salaries and equipment, more of the detail line and the values of those. Again, increase of over 2 million or 6%. This shows you expenses at a glance. When you look at it at a picture view of it, you can see where your biggest slice of the pie is. It's in, as we are a service-driven organization, our biggest slice of the pie is our supervision and instruction. And then the next one that's tied with that, obviously, is your employee benefits. And other than that is your operating costs, which is your general support, interfund transfers, and your debt service. We are required by New York State to break down our budget into 3 parts, which is your administrative, your program, and your capital. This again provides you what those differences are between last year and this year. You will also see more of a detailed of those 3 parts. We have our budget documents that we're required to post on our website. Those are all in there, and you can see more of the categories which fall into those 3-part programs if you wanted to look further. Our revenue. So revenues, as we know, are what we're struggling most districts are. We rely heavily on our state aid and our tax levy. Our tax levy is about 63% of our budget, which primarily finances most of our costs for the district. Outside of that is our state and federal aid, which is about 30%, and then small minor revenues such as pilots, which are payment in lieu of taxes. I know that gets some people confused on what that term is, those are agreements that are typically taken on with IDA. It's not a tax per se, but it's an agreement in lieu of taxes, which they get a set rate primarily over a certain number of years. So other than that, everything else is small. We used, for this year, because our expenses did exceed our revenues, we used some of our fund balance and reserves to balance the budget, which we used less than last year, which about a little less, we used less than 600,000, which is great, because we don't want to keep relying on our fund balance and reserves to balance the budget. We want to be strategic because we're looking for that long-term stability moving forward. As we look at our 26-27 revenues, again, as we talked about, our tax levy, which is at about 4.18% increase this year, which again is under the allowable property tax cap, is our biggest source of income, along with the state and federal aid. For our state and federal aid, you'll often hear about foundation aid. Foundation aid for us was about $79,000. When you think of one person's salary, foundation aid is not going to cover that. So there's a supplemental revenues that we have to utilize to balance our budget.
So, I know some people will say, well, the state doesn't currently have a budget, right? So how can the district
Yep.
approve their budget? We have, regulatory, we have to approve our budget. We have to go through it now. If there were changes to the state aid, which there's not going to be, I want to be very clear, if there are, they'll be very minimal. And typically what we would end up seeing is maybe a $10,000 change in our foundation aid,
Yeah.
if that's possible, but typically we don't. The way that school districts are structured in New York State is it's really taxpayer dependent. The more wealth you have in your community, the more that you're expected to put into your community. That really is the way that New York State does it. The less wealth you have, the more foundation aid, the more support you get. The fact that we're a high wealth community, that means that we are really taxpayer funded and taxpayer dependent. So that's when we're looking at these programs and these needs, and this is what I talked about in the video, is that we have to really make these are hard decisions, and we understand the impact, but if we don't look at maximizing our tax ratios, we will create negative impacts in the long run for our students and for our community. So it really does have a negative impact years down the road. So tax levy, we're at 4.18%, which is the maximum allowable account with a 2% tax cap. Our foundation aid, as Colleen said, is $79,184, 1.33% increase. It might go up to 2%, you never know, but I doubt that highly. State and federal aid overall, we did see an increase. The reason that we're seeing an increase is because our debt services. Like, that's really important to understand this. Our debt services went up. That's expense-based aid. New York State has tried to get rid of expense-based aids in the past. People lobby for that to not go away because it's a way for school districts to be able to spend money to get money back and be able to control and continue our long-term plans for financial and facility maintenance. Buses, boat fees, those things are all expense-based aids. And interfund transfer for debt services, as Colleen talked about. So this is how we ended up balancing the budget. This is the revenue considerations. Colleen kind of went through this already. But here's the total revenues and how we went through it.
Yep, this is very simple breakdown. So when you look at your expenses, our expenses are 36.6. Our revenues are at 35.5. Obviously, we don't have enough revenues to support our expenses, so where do we go? We have to bridge that gap, I call it. So we are looking to use money out of our ERS reserve and then the balance of that out of our fund balance, which then gives us what we call a balanced budget. So your expenses match your revenues.
I'm not going to go into how the property tax cap is developed. This is our tax caps and levy increases that we've utilized over the past few years. And this is the equalization rate. So I just want to clarify, these are tentative equalization rates. We do not have control of this. So what we set as a school district then gets equalized out by basic ratios and everything else, and tax rolls and everything else that's out there. Colleen can explain to it. And that is what your tax value is. Sometimes it may be less than what a school district is levying, or sometimes it will be more. I will use the example from, oh my gosh, 10 years ago now, or 11 years ago, those community members who lived in the Guilderland area, specifically the Weatherfield area, where I bought a house and didn't realize that happened. What ended up happening was During the equalization rate in the summer, we got our tax bills, and our tax bills went up immensely, almost by a lot, yeah, it was a lot of money that we didn't anticipate. It was actually $6,000 more budgeted that we didn't even have budgeted already, so we
You
were
were
seeing a large
600.
increase. So that was the equalization rate. School districts have no control of that, but so we try to work with our municipalities to understand how that works, so. Did I miss anything on it?
No,
She's just gonna explain that the Village of New Scotland is actually what Voorheesville is called
Right.
tax rolls.
so this is not what the current this is representative of last year, because the equalization rates at this time were not published. In August, when we set our tax levy, you will see the newest assessments, because assessments, all of your values is based on those assessments, right? So that's a piece of the pie that's happening. Those are based on what the current assessments are as of 25, 26. They're not out they probably just came out May 1st. Those are based on last year, so they will be updated. This just gives you an idea of what it may look like.
But I
Just
think
want
the
to make
most
sure everybody
important-
knows that.
But again, districts don't have control of this.
We don't.
We have control of the levy.
Right.
But there's no other control that
Nope.
we have. We've talked about what's on the ballot. So we have the approval, we have the purchase of the school buses. We also have the approval of the 2026-27 library and the school board of education vacancies. So full details are on our website. We also have budget packets in all of the buildings. Next thing is our May 19th school budget vote from 2:30 to 9 o'clock in the middle school lobby. Okay? Any questions? Thank you, Colin.
You're welcome.
And there'll be a bake sale, so bring cash.
The Voorheesville Teachers Association does a fundraiser each year to give back to the school community. I believe they raise a large amount of funds for this, and also they have really good food. Like their bakes are really good. There's a couple teachers who really go above and beyond. I'm not gonna call them out, but it's pretty amazing some of the things they make. So yes, there will be a bake sale that night as well.
So we support. Thank you for that, and we'll talk a little bit more about the vacancies when we get to the dates to remember. This is exciting. Student member report.
Okay, so I have a pretty good amount this night. For spring sports, they're doing very well. We haven't quite entered the sectional season yet, so I can't confirm that yet, but they have been doing very good. Last Wednesday, we had the NHS induction ceremony, and there were 35 inductees. Last Friday was also decision day, so all the seniors had their final decisions of where they're going to college, or if they're working or taking a gap year. Everyone wore, if they're going to college, they wore their merch. Some made jeans and they painted them. And there were also the a parent committee set up a station for us to make pennants of what college we're going to, and they actually just hung them up down the same hallway. And then there was also a map for us to put pins of where we're going. And this week, AP started, so there's a lot of different emotions going around. And last Friday,
May 1st.
first, was the ceremony Friday?
I think it was Thursday.
Thursday? Okay. Last Thursday was the nationalization ceremony where 15 people became U.S. citizens. And there was a community speaker and a student speaker and select choir sang there for the national anthem. And the 7th graders and 11th graders were invited. And I also was able to go since I had a study hall. And it was very nice to see that opportunity and to be able to watch them. I know there was a lot of students that ended up going, and it was a very cool opportunity to just watch the process of that happening. And me and Ellie also sent out a valedictory class survey where we asked if all high school and if it gets valuable to have a valedictorian and salutatorian in a valedictory class. The majority of the people that responded said yes. And for some preferences of how to change that is they definitely think it should be more stricter of the requirements, and some people said to either weigh APs or add more APs that they need in honors. And there was also some ideas of adding character or being in sports to it,
Some also said that that could even be like a separate recognition instead of just being included into it. And yeah. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you guys for doing more and work beyond doing the surveys and attending doing the meetings. Yes, very appreciate that. Or I very much appreciate that.
Yeah, you're welcome.
We all do, not just. Do you wanna do a report or do you say?
No, let's do
There's
it.
not much. Just kidding.
So, first and foremost, having students on the board is important. This is Michaela's second to last time, so it would be great. And also, for those who don't know, Michaela's sister was actually the first student board member that we had, so here's a history there. Also, I am meeting with the two candidates that have been sent to me for the next student board members, and I'm meeting with them this week. So I will have my recommendations to the board and hopefully an announcement for the June meeting for who our new candidates will be. So very exciting, and that will give time for them to meet with Michaela and Ellie, and then to go through the next conversation, so get a little student-to-student training. I do want to quickly talk about the naturalization ceremony. I want to thank Mrs. Cardillo, Dr. Lou. They had to apply to be able to do this through the League of Women Voters, who helped support that. We were the first time applying and first time being able to do it. It was an amazing ceremony for me. I've been an educator for a very long time, and I have never been able to sit on the stage and watch 15 people become citizens. And just to watch and feel the energy and see it was probably one of the most rewarding things I've ever done. It was great. The Honorable Maid D'Agostino was the federal court judge who was here. She praised our district. She praised our students. The League of Women Voters said that there are school districts that don't allow students to be involved, do not have students there. The honor also mentioned that having students was such an important thing. And then afterwards, she stated that we need to host it again. Our school did such an amazing job. So hats off to our school students. We had roughly 250, 300 students there. They did not speak a peep, right? And I will tell you, I only heard positive things coming from kids saying it was a really good experience. So it just highlights our vision and mission completely. I want to talk about really quick what Matt said. Diana Strout, former board member, also is taking over the New Scotland Food Pantry, has reached out to me recently. So Matt, the fact that you said that is super important, because we're going to be working to make sure that we get more communication about options for food insecurities within our community. The New Scotland Food Pantry is one of those pantries that you can also go by appointment or go in. You can go at any point in time. So it's kind of like our community station that we have here in the school too. So we'll be getting that information out, but there is a need in our community. We know there is a need, so we're going to continue to support that. Our pre-K update, currently, this is important, everybody got one of these. We have spots for 18 students. We currently have 8 applicants. So it closes on May 31st, so I'm sure we'll get more people coming in, but currently we're at 8 for that. So I'm going to fill up and kind of talk about that quick.
It's a lottery.
It has to be a lottery, yep. Unless if we get 18 people, no
Right,
lottery.
no, if there's more than.
Yes, yeah, otherwise it's a lottery. Staff Appreciation Week is this week. I did send out something on our website. I did talk about it with our staff a little bit. We shouldn't only go down to 1 week to appreciate everybody that works in a school system. It is something that people do. Yes, it is a job, but it is also a passion to support our students. Everybody who works in a school district makes a positive impact on our children or on our school community, and we aren't Voorheesville schools without our staff. So there's so many people that are there for that. But also, we're not Voorheesville School District without our Voorheesville community. And our PTA, I want to thank them. They are having a circus for all of us. They gave us all today noses. I got a lot of pictures from staff members today wearing these. They were hilarious. So thank you to the PTA for all their generous support and acknowledgement as well, because it does mean a lot. We don't do it for the thanks, but when you do get a thanks, it goes a long way. So thank you to the PTA. Last thing I want to talk about is the capital project update, because again, it's always on. The big thing is that our elementary school is coming along. If you went down, you're starting to really see some of the things that are happening. The windows are going in. So the first window is actually in the building today. I had to approve what caulk we were going to use here. But by the end of the week, you'll see windows. Our cafeteria, there's probably 25 people in the cafeteria working constantly at this point. The joists to the roof and the wall that will finish out the main office and the new hallway are coming in. They're actually coming in tomorrow. So we should have a roof and be able to finish that off. By the end of May, we will have access into the main office area. So everything is moving towards plan. We did get a little good news, is that, and we're checking it out, the stairwell stringers, then the stairwell that we're doing may be salvageable. That's really important because it costs a ton of money and it's very extensive. So when they pull them out and they can salvage some of the stringers, that will also offset some of the costs that we're looking at for the masonry and the water main. So there are things that are still there, but a little positive news, hopefully that will continue to move forward. Any questions on the capital project?
I have one.
Yep.
With Kiwanis T-ball and baseball starting up,
Yes.
I'm seeing lots of people traversing the parking lot next to construction equipment. Are we still using that bridge that
So they
prevents
should-
people in front of like the parking lot?
The Otterness Bridge?
Do we-
The covered bridge cannot be used,
Not
so
the
they have to
covered
go
bridge,
through
using
the main bridge and then go up the sidewalk and
like
around the
like
building.
Blair Ridge?
The reddish one, like,
Like Blair Ridge.
Yes.
the newer one.
That's the one they're supposed to be using, but it should be,
Or they should be
Completely
going to
fenced
the right,
off.
is what you're saying?
So
So they shouldn't be making a right when you come across that bridge.
are they
They should
going
go
into
around.
through the construction?
I was driving by last night and I saw people coming off the bridge and then crossing behind what looked like one of those mobile like scaffolding things that had its lights on, so I was
I'll talk to the
afraid that
I'll talk to the
maybe that thing
construction
was gonna
crew.
back up and there were people in the,
I'll talk to the
Wow.
construction crew and make sure that it's clear and safe.
yeah, or at least like roped off so
Yeah.
people have a path.
Yeah,
There's a lot of poison.
Ugh.
I'll make sure that we address that with our construction. crew.
Okay, thank you.
Appreciate that. Anything else? No, I'm done. Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you. A lot of. Right, with that, we move to the minutes of the regular meeting. They are not currently posted. Let me see. Should get it posting them. Oh, then you have copies. I just opened this and, oh, now they're, did they just show up? They were posted. Okay. I was looking at it 6, March 6.
Can I make a motion
You
to
can move
table
them. Move them.
approval of the minutes until our next meeting, so we can look at them?
Move to save them for next month. Well, we can even do a consensus agenda.
Sure.
Can you note that we're moving, RG's moving it, anyone want a second to,
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
We are moving to approve minutes next month. For last month. With that, we have a discussion of the board's activities calendar. We talked about this last month, it's very exciting. We have an annual activities calendar that we had talked about during the retreat and we put together, we never formalized, but it includes a lot of the activities that we have. And there were things that were of interest to all of us that we wanted to learn about and thought could be presentations either within committees or within the regular board meeting or within audit committee where we sometimes have like educational opportunities. So are there any things in here that people want to bring forward or discuss?
I think it looks good. I think it's very comprehensive. Yeah.
Well. Oh, yeah, thank you. All right,
Thank you
all right, we'll
very
keep-
much for putting that together. It's
Well, Frank, thank you.
extraordinarily comprehensive and will keep us busy.
Yeah, all right, we'll keep rolling it forward and, we'll talk about what can be presented each month or at different points in different meetings.
Can I make a recommendation to do it at the board training in the summer?
Retreat?
Yeah, the retreat, and then talk
Yeah,
about
we
that.
can finalize it for sure. Because not just being here, but being at a retreat is the part of fun. All right, with that, we can move to, are we good? So we'll, yep. All right, financial reports and claim auditor reports. We can put those two items together for discussion or should we, anyone would like to?
I'll move them.
Second,
I'll second.
all in favor?
Aye.
We have personnel items on the agenda. We have two different administrators who are, potentially should be both, joining this district. We also have two school counselors, Brian Whitley, please, I'm so sorry, I'm not functioning with my fingers. A Spanish teacher, Aiden Irish, a school counselor, Brian Whitley, another school counselor, Daniel Dumoulin, I apologize, I'm blank on names. And then we have two administrators, Kathleen Goodwin as the middle school principal, and Joshua Wagner as the athletic director, the dean and the director of physical education and health services, as well as numerous other appointments. So would anyone like to discuss or move all of 5.4?
I'll move it.
Second,
I'll second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Congratulations, Frank, has some, swag.
Yep, so as members now of Voorheesville administrative team, please come on up and grab your Blackbird swag. Kathleen, I know you have some, but Josh, we know you don't, so welcome to the team. Congratulations. Figure you need one of these. Thank you so much. Congratulations.
Congratulations, guys, thank you very much. We appreciate you being here. Good, good. All right, we have CSE recommendations and BOCES substitute teacher appointments, which we can put in the consensus agenda, which you don't mind. Would anyone like to discuss or move?
I'll move them.
Second,
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Okay, we have the Cole Summer Writers Institute, with Zumba as the advisor for July 6th through the 10th. Anyone interested in discussing anything?
Move it.
Second,
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
And then there's the Voorheesville youth football agreement. Discussion.
I'll move it. I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And then we have, ironically or wonderfully, on teacher staff appreciation, we have the MOA Memorandum of Agreement for the VTA collective bargaining, which would provide a contract for the next 3 years with the Teachers Association. Would anyone like to discuss or move?
Would like to say congratulations and I will move.
Yeah, and I'll second and say thanks to Frank and the admin team and the teachers union that worked so hard on getting this agreement done timely.
Yeah.
And I think without a lot of fanfare, just everybody just worked diligently to hammer out the items that needed to be in there, so thank you.
Students, yeah. Would anyone like to vote? Yes? All in favor?
Aye.
All right, congratulations and thank you, we appreciate it. With that, we move to old business, item 6.1, the audit committee did not meet.
No, we're done meeting for the year, so we've had our required meetings. I think we're
Okay,
done.
we'll look forward to it.
Unless there's an issue that comes up.
Perhaps in August.
We were thinking, sorry. I feel like I'm gonna give you the bad news. We would like to at least have a half an hour of your time to talk about reserve plans and everything else in June. Just to, if you wouldn't mind, just make sure, closing out the year, understanding where our closeout is, anticipating the expectations. Yes, sorry.
Sounds good. All right. So,
Even though we've got to be.
disregard, we'll be
No, we
meeting in
better.
June.
This is exciting, we get another audit committee meeting.
All right,
Yeah, we just thought it might be
Okay.
good to kind of close out the year, what you're saying.
that's fine. Sounds
Well,
good.
looking forward to it. With that, we have a curriculum committee that met, in April, way back when it was sometimes cold and sometimes warm.
We discussed some course updates, so some of the new, course that we had are personal finance, is now, New State Ed says we need to have, all schools need to have some course on personal finance. With the change to the diploma that's coming up, there'll be an individual arts pathway, which is nice to offer students different pathways, so we're not pushing all students to take the same courses. We discussed again, of course, the new, that's coming up, that we are the pilot for, the semiconductor technology and integrated circuit design. Yes. It'll be very exciting. I had a child who's very excited for it. And that'll be primarily project-based learning, which is fantastic. Some of the things that have changed, is the career financial management. For grade 6, they're gonna be working on digital fluency, and some of the other things that are gonna be offered, I see, are fashion design and global foods. We went over the use of iReady, which is a software program for middle school students. And next year, they're going to be returning to STAR Math, and then expanding STAR into the high school as well. And then the last thing, we went over our ESSA accountability determinations, and that is,
Every student succeeds well.
yes, Every Student Succeeds Act, which essentially just means we go over all of the numbers, how our students have performed. And we just break it down into how many students have performed at this level, what the growth has been. And then last, we talked about the accelerated math. That would be an option for students currently in grade 6 to enter into grade 7. And it looks like part of that will depend on the TOEMAS test that is coming up. Yes, which is 1 week from today. Got the 6th graders will too. And our next meeting is May 26th.
Would you, talked about the idea of, I talked about the idea of talking about state testing, how that is used. I know in policy it talks about, I think, opportunity for intervention and, but not, it's not the only thing that's used for interventions.
No.
Like how long the tests take for students, like how long is a 3rd grader sitting and taking a test? They're not timed, so.
That I cannot answer. I have never administered a state test with 3rd graders, so I can't speak to the timeline. I can tell you with any standardized test, the best that we can do as teachers is look at those numbers that we get back and see, are there gaps somewhere? You know, should the students moving on from my class to the next class, should I let that next teacher know, hey, this class is a little bit weak in this, we might want to step it up here? Or they're doing super well in this area, so maybe we can throw in something else to focus on. But
when do you get, like, they just took tests.
Yes.
Can I go over this? If you would like, yeah. So, we utilize our 3 through 8 testing to look at our curriculum maps and assess them equally. When we get them over the summer, we get something called tableau reports. And we've talked about this at our curriculum committee meetings and actually at the lab curriculum committee. Karen talked about our interventions that we utilize for our students and showing that we had students move from a level 2 to a level 3 on a state exam. These are not students that are getting an IP or 504. These are just students who were not deemed as proficient on those state exams. We get AIS services or more services to those students to help them get up to where those expectations are, and then we utilize that as a benchmark. Okay? Those what those state exams are used for. The Tableau reports are very in-depth They go through it, any teacher who knows Tableau or utilizes those, we can give you an hour-long presentation on Tableau reports on its own.
Yeah.
Karen Conway loves them.
The data's, yeah, she likes the
She
data.
does love them, and they're very in-depth. All of our department chairs have them. I see teachers shaking their head, they know about Tableau reports. We talk about this all the time. We utilize them in our grade level meetings. When we get the information in the summer, we give it to our teachers early. They go over it with the curriculum maps. They make sure if there are gap and weakness that we're seeing, they're seeing how they teach it in the classroom, and then how do we evaluate. It's a tool. It is something to utilize. It's not defined as a use. But since we're mandated to give these, we're going to find the best way to utilize them to benefit our students. Does that help?
I still have so many questions, like,
So-
do teachers, when they get the students' scores, do they get the questions and their answers and where they got it right?
Yes. And they also align to the standards. So it's not just about the question, it's about what standard did the student not get, or what skill set did the student get.
So they're getting the questions on the test?
I don't know for specifically if they're getting it, and I don't know the minutia of if the question is important. It's the standard that or the skill that's being taught. That's the most important aspect. There might be 4 questions that ask the same standard or skill set.
I still have more questions.
So I'll give you an example. When I taught an IB course, which is upper level high school course, I did not get the students' exam grades back until the middle of July. I would have the grade from the different sections that they took. And so again, I didn't see the exact questions, but I knew on the listening portion how they did. I knew on the writing portion how they did. And again, it was aligned to exactly what the fees were, what IB said we had to teach, and it went from there. It wasn't, I'm not sure what other questions you.
But you don't have that if necessarily again. So like if you're teaching 4th grade or 7th grade, you don't get the results back. The next teacher gets those results.
The teacher sees where the deficit is for the child that they're getting,
Yeah.
and then the teacher who had them last year can look at their curriculum and see if there was any gaps or weaknesses in that component that they need to evaluate. This isn't an end-all be-all, this is what we're going to use as tests to fix our programs. This is a tool to say where the students are coming in. If I'm a 5th grader going into 6th grade, my 6th grade teacher can say, well, I didn't do well on standard 3 or XYZ. Then they can plan that for next year. I think the other thing is let's take away 3 through 8 testing and look at grades 9 through 12. Let's look at Regents tests. Let's use that as the same example. The child has to pass that in order to get credit at the moment, but also they leave. They move on to algebra to geometry, or they move on from earth science to biology, completely different course subject. It doesn't follow them. But the teacher who had that child is going to utilize that assessment to see and align their curriculum to make sure it hits the state expectations. And I think the question comes down to is it a concern with standardized state testing, or is it a concern how the district is utilizing that state testing to meet the needs of our students? That's where I think I want to have that understanding of the curriculum committee to know where you'd like us to go.
Yeah. I have both. I think students sometimes get very stressed out by the tests and the fact that they happen every year. I grew up with the Iowa test and the California test, which is once 4th grade, once 8th grade, so it's just a weird thing that students are spending so much time each year on tests. That's me, and, sorry. So does the curriculum committee have something that it's gonna talk about in the May meeting?
The only thing we had so far was to go over achievement levels, looking at our students with disabilities.
Also, we're going to go over screen time.
Yes.
One of the board members asked for us to do that with the curriculum, so we're going to do an evaluation of instructional components and how we're utilizing screen time grades K through 12.
Yes.
Awesome. Thank you. All right, thanks for explaining all that to me. Sorry to stretch it.
We're also going to go over opt-outs as you requested as well.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. Facilities committee, do you guys meet? Policy committee, you guys met?
We did. We had our student board members present, or at least Michaela. I don't think
Michaela was there.
that was
Just
there.
Michaela.
Gave us feedback from the student survey regarding our victory policy in class. That's a discussion that we continue to have. in the policy committee, certainly we're happy to take any feedback that anyone from the community has with regard to that policy and how how you view it and which direction you may want to see it go. We also finished up our discussion of the grading regulation, which you'll see on the agenda for this evening for its first read. My understanding is that that was developed through tremendous teamwork, input through a number of different stakeholders, and that's a good thing. And certainly, since this is the first read, we continue to take that input. One logistical question that I have, Frank, is we are meeting again. We're meeting tomorrow, our next meeting. So I think if somebody did have feedback to give us between today and tomorrow, I think that would be unlikely. So I guess the question becomes, if we do get feedback between now and the next full board meeting, how we might deal with that feedback, if it might lead to changes in the policy.
So I have Monday, May 18th on my calendar.
I would be happy with that, but
Could we do May 18th? That would be great.
On the calendar of the district, it says May 18th.
Yeah, I don't have
we
tomorrow.
had some switcheroo before because we had to reschedule some. But let me-
How about May 18th?
Let me take a look here.
May 18th is good.
Looks like it's May 18th. I have it available. So let's.
That would be really helpful, actually.
That would be very helpful.
I'm good.
And
right.
so you're good.
Yep.
You're good, RG. Okay, so we'll move that to the 18th. So I will not apologize for not getting in touch about what I thought was tomorrow's policy agenda. Instead, I'll thank you for being an overachiever for putting together a policy agenda for the 18th.
There we go.
Thanks. And while I've got the floor, we've got a second reading for a new animal dissection policy, as well as a conditional appointment policy, which were previously on the first read, and haven't gotten any feedback on those, so those we recommend just be approved. And otherwise, at the next meeting, we anticipate going over that from NISBA policy updates that recently came out, and also have some things in deck circle. One potentially being naming policy, which from time to time picks up some interest, but question of I don't think we currently do have a policy, correct me if I'm wrong, that governs how it is that facilities or school property are named or commemorated, and the question is whether you want to do that and what are your guidelines that you have to work within in order to do that. So that should produce some interesting conversation. And then finally, the other thing that we discussed, which is on the agenda this evening, is the NISBA resolution that we're going to discuss here this evening. So with that, our next meeting is now the 18th of May.
Can I say on the naming policy, it's been on our agenda for quite a while as to whether this is something we want to do. So if the board, and I'll say from prior policy meeting conversations, we were leaning towards not allowing things to be named. Because that creates a whole host of issues about what happens if you later want to change that.
Right.
So if anyone on the board has feedback on whether we should or should not explore adopting a policy on naming things, please.
And the policy could very well, correct me if I'm wrong, the policy very well be exactly that, which is that we do not.
Right.
Which we could answer the question one way or the other.
And I have multiple drafts with different levels.
Yes.
Yeah, I have multiple drafts, so I can share all that too.
Super sticky topic. Long. Awesome, thank you,
Okay,
thank you, thank you to all the community members for all the things you can do and create, which you can watch those community meetings on, YouTube. It's fun, you can even put it up on your TV, it's on TV. Lots of fun. With that, we can move to 7.1, there's a NISBA resolution that the district, we're members of the New York State School Board Association, and they, have an annual meeting in October, where each member district can vote on the resolution submitted to determine if those will be part of what NISBA lobbies for. And Matt and Virginia, Barbara, you wanna cover this?
I'll let you start, because you draft.
Sure, okay. Just checking to see if I had it up, but in draft is up to next week. We put together a resolution which, you know, we've seen throughout the budget process, the effect that the increasing costs of health insurance can have on the budgeting process. And so we put together a resolution which urges NISBA to use its lobbying efforts to try to obtain positive change that would provide some relief for school districts in terms of its ability to pay for healthcare coverage costs. It does. We chose not to take a specific confine ourselves to a specific solution, so to speak. We did say that the resolutions that we mandate a specific type of legislative regulatory change, but that some ideas that prompted the resolution might be modifying the tax cap so as to accommodate for health insurance costs, which is much like what they do now for retirement costs, carve-outs. When you calculate the tax cap, which take into account some changes in teacher and employee retirement system costs. Other examples are statewide single-payer healthcare system, or direct aid from the state or health insurance costs. So, in a nutshell, not to take up too much air, that's what the resolution says, and if it passes, we would file that with NISBA, and other school districts, if they so choose, could join us in this effort, and come October at the annual meeting for NISBA, we would make our pitch and do our best to have the resolution adopted so that NISBA would add it to the team.
Could you read aloud the last paragraph of the rationale, please?
Sure. It is fundamentally unfair to New York students and contrary to our constitutional obligation to provide a sound basic education when school boards are forced to diminish quality of educational services in order to cover increasing health insurance costs. Providing insurance coverage is a moral imperative faced by all districts. Therefore, NISBA should strongly advocate that the state take steps to ensure that providing employees with quality, affordable health coverage and ensuring students have access to quality education are not mutually exclusive.
Thank you. We can make a resolution today, I believe, to move this forward for a NISBA resolution and submit it to NISBA for their resolutions that they would then have on the date. Is that something that we would like to do at this point?
So I would say yes. I think the draft really strikes the right balance of highlighting the problem while at the same time not prescribing the solution. And I think for anyone who's dealt with trying to get legislation done or advocacy, it's often an iterative process, and, you know, you might go in with one goal, but you're willing to accept less incrementally to try and get something done and then build on it in future years. So I think that's what we want NYSBA to do, is to kick off the conversation and start talking with the legislature and the governor's office about how to solve for this for districts. So I think we need to get to NYSBA sooner rather than later, so we can start thinking about how they would act on it if school districts were to recommend NYSBA adopting this.
Any other thoughts or comments? So we can have a resolution that we will move this resolution to NYSBA and submit it from the district. Would anyone like to move that? We resolve to move this resolution to NYSBA.
I'll move it.
Second. All in favor?
Hi.
Thank you, Matt, for drafting this. Thank you, the policy committee, for working through it. With that, more work from the policy committee. The first read on policy 4710R, the grading regulation.
Okay, I think it's quick. You're
Yeah.
fine. All right, just
I was like, go ahead.
If you don't mind. So, as you know, we've done the policy, and by the way, it's already changed from the last policy meeting. I got a request from the building administration to add drop add components in the structure for drop add courses that was given to her by the guidance counselors and their team. So I've added that language as well to it. So really what this does, again, as we've talked about our policy in general, our policy from the board is the wide area. This grading regulation is now the guardrails that are put in place, but it doesn't stop the autonomy or expectation of our staff members who have control of their grading or their structures. So it doesn't dictate exactly what grading structures have to be. It gives guidance on those expectations and how they are going to be structured. It did take items that have been kind of sporadically across the district for years, some written, some not written, and it's taken all those in for consideration and then codified into practice. And then so our building leadership teams, our faculty meetings, people that have insight on this, they've talked about it, they made recommendations. I looked at those recommendations, we talked about them as a board, we put it into a first draft. As we've told our staff already at faculty meetings, the principal did, it's a first draft. It doesn't mean that it's set in stone at this moment in time. It can be changed. This is just a discussion phase to get us to a second draft. If we get a second draft and we get an approval in June, that will allow time for summer curriculum time or teachers to work on their grading, to be able to develop processes and policies that adhere to it. Again, I think a lot of it's already been in practice, but there are some small changes. So doing it in this time frame allows people more time to be able to get to where it's finished. I'm not going to go in depth into it. We've gone into depth. There's a lot into it. Any questions?
Yeah.
Yep.
This,
And by the way, I will probably not be able to answer those questions, so we
That's
have to
okay.
write them down and get back to you after.
okay, the question about the prescriptive nature of the final grades, this is the high school upper level. Where the final grade is 4% of the local final and 24% for each quarter. And how does that work when a teacher wants the cumulative final to be more of?
They don't.
They,
That's how it
they
works.
can't, that seems to be restricted. And what has that?
Well,
worked
currently,
out
right
so
now,
far?
Regents exams are 4%, but yet cumulative final can be 90%. So that's an inequitable component of it. So this is something that the staff have developed. A cumulative final, what really should happen with best practices, why are we going to test a child in something they learned in September, that they've already been tested, they've worked on it in the first quarter, second quarter, third quarter, fourth quarter, they might have already skipped it. You're going to retest something for the whole year, and if that child gets a 65 on that, that's going to be 50% of their grade.
No, not necessarily, but what about if it's an art project and they've been working on it through and then they present it? So how does that work for like an art project? Or if there's a thesis type of, if it's a course with a thesis that you work on through the course of the year. So I do understand your,
They're typically 2 quarters.
right, but you can be graded on your progress, but then how do you lay out the final product? You know, if there's a senior seminar type of course or something, I don't know how that works, and maybe that's what teachers all want, but it's.
Can you just clarify the question so we can bring it back to the policy committee and to the teams to better?
How does it work for final projects and final, papers, and is this the 4% what is gonna happen across the board for all courses and? So it's two questions, I guess.
This practice matched the region's policy that was put in place.
Yeah, I remember when the Regents policy got put in place, and that one got squirrely, because it was agreed on as 4%, and then we were told, that was, as a conversation, they were being told that Regents were not going to be able to be part of grades. This is like more than 10 years ago. They were going to be eliminated as part of grades entirely. And that was coming, so make sure you're ready. And then they got put in at 8%, and it had been agreed for. It was a whole thing. It was kind of funny. But, so the 4% is still like, why are they part of the grades at all? I don't know how that works.
Would you like the cumulative to be more weighted on the student's final average?
I
Or less weighted?
I wouldn't want to prescribe it. I personally don't have any pedagogical.
Right. That's the people who did write this,
Right,
did make that
I
recommendation.
get that, but
Okay. I'll find out the answer to that policy.
and then there were a couple typos, but that's not. But is the word parent portal going to be used going forward, or are we going to always be using the lovely parent portal?
University requires us to have a parent portal.
Okay. Thank you. And then it had some comments about teachers reaching out to parents. Do they reach out when a child is having trouble? Do they recommend testing?
I can't speak on teachers, yeah.
Okay, but is that something they can do?
Yeah, they always
Okay, so if they're saying.
Yeah, this doesn't stop a teacher's ability to communicate. This just gives a guardrail of substantial fault.
Okay, so if they're saying your student's struggling, they can say, they might benefit from some testing just to see if it's going.
I don't think a teacher would say that.
No, nor should
No.
teachers say.
No.
Not testing, but
No.
Some,
we spent a lot of time talking about this because we felt that in some instances there was a communication gap where students were falling behind or not making progress that should be expected, and parents, myself included at various times, felt like they weren't hearing from the teacher until it was at a point in the semester where it felt too late for them to catch up.
Okay.
So the goal was to try and put some guardrails around when that communication should happen so that it's happening timely and in a manner such that the student can make up that progress during the course of the quarter, semester, or year.
okay, right, and
If-
there's a 10% drop or something.
If a teacher has seen the child have gaps or weaknesses in their learning, then they can recommend MDSS or EIS structures.
Mhm.
The buildings have those processes to be able to put in place. So that's appropriate. And at any point in time, a teacher can reach out and say, I see that Rachel's struggling with reading and having comprehension issues. Here's what I'm going to do as tier 1 intervention in the classroom to help support this. These are the supports that we're going to put in place. I mean, this is, our teachers do this all the time. I've seen this.
Okay.
So I can speak directly to them. They do that constantly already. This really is just about substantial fault. If I have a child that's an 85, plus you, and the next thing you know, they have a 65, this is an obligation to say, hey, hey, listen, I noticed something going on.
Okay. They just have to-
Right.
Okay. Thank you. Just trying to understand the process. So, thank you. All right.
If the board does have any questions, please send them in. You can open that policy and we can go over it.
That was my one. It's like, how do you do an art project that you've been working on for, in semester one, usually?
Yeah, we didn't talk about that, so I think that's something that we can explore.
Thank you. Sorry to, this is a huge body of work. If anyone hasn't read it, it's fascinating and it's such an, like, the codification of this is surreal, and kudos to all those who have been involved in it. So it seems like a ton of people. So, thank you.
So we do first reads.
That's, yeah. All right. Happy May 18th.
Yeah, the only other comment I'll make is I think that where we're trying to go is to further have it align with our equity policy. Because through conversation, I think Frank, you were uncovering inconsistencies, even across classrooms within the same
Yeah.
grade perhaps, as to how teachers were grading, or evaluating students, and we wanted to try and create some structures to promote that equity in grading, so.
This came out of building revelations, right?
Yeah.
They were talking about, they were seeing it, and they filled out, forms, and they started saying, like, oh, you do that, I do this, like, how do we align that with that?
Right. But it was interesting because McKelly brought forward that survey and students understood that, sciences can be graded differently than English. And that was, it's been.
And some of the positive feedback that I heard from the department chairs is they really like the idea that we can do grading policies or grading procedures by department. So world language can create a world language department grading. So that follows it from grade 7 to grade 12. English can follow that also and create their grading processes. So it really does help create that consistency. That was a big thing that people have always said they want.
That was cool.
And if I could, I'll just add, not to put too fine a point on it, is that certainly we continue to welcome any feedback that people have. And that's the purpose of the first reading, is it's the public read this and they have questions or suggestions, and certainly reach out, certainly people within the school community. I think that that's a very important feature of this policy, is that it was created through collaboration with the help and the input of those who are going to be affected by it. And I think that's a very important thing to strive for, in order to be able to reflect that people had a say in this policy, and that those who have expertise in this area are allowed to exercise it and be heard in terms of the formulation of the policy. So with that, if the president is okay with it, I will move. Or no, this is just a first reading,
This is first
right?
read, we're just.
Well, with
yeah.
that said,
That's the
then-
perfect time, this is the perfect time for you to say that, because all that is valuable. And we're gonna move to instructional animal dissection,
Right.
because that's fun too. But that's actually an approval, it's a second. Are you good with that? Would you like to move it?
I will.
Would anyone like to second?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, we have animal dissection. And we have policy 9260, conditional appointment for student safety.
I'll move it.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
I think that's. Okay. All right, we're gonna appoint personnel for the upcoming election, the school library budget vote and election. Would anyone like to discuss or move?
Rachel, since I'm on the ballot, I'm just gonna abstain. I don't think you need me on this one.
Okay. Kevin's back. All right, would anyone like to move it? I'll move it. Second? I'll second. All in favor?
Aye.
Acceptance of donations, we have some generous donations from the PTA, thank you so much for those. Would anyone like to move them?
I'll move them.
Second?
I'll second.
All in favor? Aye. And because of the way things work, we need to allot the co-writer's donation. Would anyone like to move it? I'll move it. Second?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
We now have an opportunity for the public to be heard again. If anyone in the public would like to come forward, we can get podium.
No, we usually do.
And we have a second opportunity for the board to be heard, and we have dates to remember, and I kind of wanted to meld those two because we have an upcoming vote on the 19th. We have 2 open seats. We have 1 named candidate, which means that the community has an opportunity to write in a candidate. If we have a write-in candidate who for some reason, who gets the most votes, but is for some reason refusing the honor and right of serving, we would then move to the next candidate. Candidates must be 18 years old. If you're 18 years old, be able to read and write, be a citizen, and a resident of the district for 30 days. And so we welcome any candidate to come and join us as board member, should they be so voted in. And so there you go. The election will be in the foyer over there, 2:30 to 9 p.m. on the 19th of May. So 2 weeks from today. It's exciting. Anything else? Am I forgetting something? Right. Happy Mother's Day to all the mothers in your lives. For this Sunday is Mother's Day, and to all the moms, and happy Teacher and Staff Appreciation Week. We appreciate you. And would anyone like to move us to adjourn? Second?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, thank you all for being here. Have a beautiful evening.